Hello everyone, another short video this afternoon before our Collaborate session tonight. Just wanted to once again read another short excerpt from the continually wonderful book from last time, Teacher by Gabby Stroud. This is a little bit different in terms of the last excerpt that I read from. This really struck me as something I wanted to share with you, particularly around, I guess, juxtaposing in some way the previous excerpt. This is further along in the book where Gabby's starting to, I guess, find her rhythm in teaching and starting to, get into the real stuff of teaching. And I think it has really nice little connective tissue to the notion of classroom management. What does this mean? Where does this come from? From which place by which do we manage groups of learners? How do we do this successfully? Now, once again, Gabby is a primary school teacher. I know we're all secondary focused and she's teaching kindergarten at this point, but to me, the stuff here it has wonderful parallels to any teaching context. So, she talks about here where she's developed this mantra, I teach kindergarten. And, look, you're not going to be teaching in the lower years, but it doesn't matter. She developed this mantra, this notion of continually focusing her on this idea of what it is she's there for. So it could just be I teach, right? Or I teach history, or I teach science, or I teach art, whatever the case is. But that was her mantra to focus her on what was most important about her work, that led to her being much more effective and enjoying the work much more, and certainly work to manage the classrooms in a much more effective way. So I'll just read this short excerpt, and then it'd be lovely for those of you who are joining us in Collaborate can engage with it, and then we can discuss it as well. So this is from the chapter titled I Teach Kindergarten. So she begins, I held onto my truism, my I teach kindergarten revelation. Despite the barrage of supposedly important tasks that tried to knock it from my hands, I held fast knowing it would help me stay the course. I meditated on it often. I teach kindergarten, recognizing the weight and weightlessness of each word. I do the most important work in the world, and I must remember to work at it as though it is completely unimportant. When I held on to the polarity of these ideas without discord, I found a clarity in my days that I hadn't known before. Whenever staff meetings ran over time and the to-do list grew to indeterminable lengths, I reminded myself, I teach kindergarten. When new acronyms wandered into my profession, Gab, you need to look at the ARC on BOASTIES for ILPs on COSA, I allowed myself an acronym of my own, WTF. And calm myself with my personal mantra. Whenever something else landed on my desk, the assessment data spreadsheet, the new form for documenting a playground incident, the English policy that needed updating, the instructions for the installation of interactive whiteboard software, I placed them in my inbox and said, I teach kindergarten. I let myself fall deeply in love with my teaching, carving out time for the things I knew children every day, I knew to be beneficial, I'll start that again. I let myself fall deeply in love with my teaching, carving out time for the things I knew to be beneficial. I read to the children every day with funny voices, sometimes for half an hour or more. It was as though I was casting a spell on them, bewitching them not only with my stories, but with my voice, my eyes, my passion. I watched as they grew still, became entranced, and forgot about the world around them. We ventured together into dark, dark rooms, met hippos on roofs, danced like wild things, found magic for possums, and took tea with tigers. We started going outside more often, looking for maths in the real world, and becoming curious about things like dripping taps and the length of shadows, and the height of trees, and the number of bricks it might have taken to build the walls of our classroom. We used chalk on concrete and put water in buckets, and carried clipboards and worked with pencils tucked behind our ears. When a parent knocked on my door and suggested she bring in some baby chickens that had recently hatched, I smiled and said yes. And when a child asked if he could bring his puppy in to show the class, I said, I can't wait. And when another child brought in a book that she had read at home and handed it to me saying, I think our class might like this, I dropped whatever I was doing and sat the children down to read. I sensed with a deep, marrow-knowing understanding that the most important thing I could do for these children was to leave room for them, for their stories, for their lives, for their chooks. I found myself leaning less on external rewards like stickers and prizes and points. I was connecting with the children in unique and meaningful ways. When their work was good, their effort improving, their questions insightful, their comments amazing, I would say, "Get up there and point to the nearest desk. Let's all look at this learner. What you just did was amazing. 10 big claps for this clever, clever person." I found a joy in my teaching days that I'd missed, and I let myself take delight in each moment. I laughed with gusto when things were funny and explained the joke to the precious little ones who were so keen to know, to learn, and to grow. I discovered that a space was created where I could see the children. I found myself able to almost step inside their way of thinking, to understand where they were coming from and how they were seeing the world, how they were learning. In that space between me and my learners, an almost sacred bond was formed. These children revealed to me their vulnerabilities. We talked about things we worried about, things that gave us a funny feeling, raging feelings that would consume us and cause us to panic. Together we created a panic chart, scaling from 1 to 10 these feelings that were so puzzling and unreliable. "Calm down," I'd hear them say to one another when a bag wouldn't zip or a drink bottle had leaked. "It's not a panic day. This is only like a 3 out of 10. I saw resilience and persistence start to take up residence in their dynamic chests, and I watched them grow in ways I had never anticipated. Liberated though I was with my I Teach Kindergarten revelation, I was still tethered to my workload and the endless mandatory requirements of accountability. While my days were spent teaching with wild abandon, my nights and weekends and holidays were spent hunched at the desk documenting, recording, reporting. I was forever chasing up work that I hadn't completed during my working day. I drew up belated programs and individual learning plans that never quite captured what really went on. I met with colleagues, rewriting and updating documents so they would now be in line with the new policies that sat in layers of bureaucracies above us. I did my A to E reporting and created evidence that showed how I had refined every formal assessment task to make it meaningful and accessible for my students. As each term rolled to a close, I delivered token lessons to my class that would give a nod to anything, such as concepts and topics that I had chosen to neglect. "Why are we doing this?" a bright little button might ask, their wise young mind aware of the discord. "Well," I would say, "I have to write report cards soon and we haven't done anything in the strand of health. But I have to mark a grade in the little box next to the word health. So for the next 2 weeks, we're going to learn about making healthy food choices." "Why can't you just leave the box empty?" they would ask. "I don't really know," I would confess, and together we would shrug, knowing that these things just didn't make sense. It was a beautiful, beautiful, exhausting time in my teaching career. I was surviving on a mantra, on the euphoria of watching children learn, on the patience of my husband. I knew it could never last. So once again, a wonderfully written excerpt there by Gabby Stroud. I highly recommend that you do purchase this book and give it a read. It's such a fantastic piece of literature, of Australian literature, I think, and I hope will get traction and will be read by many to learn about the realities of teaching in Australia in the 21st century and the real work that teachers do, the heart and the soul and the blood and sweat and tears they give to the work and the work that you choosing to do, the noble work that you choose to do by enrolling in this course. So it's that whole there are challenges. It's hard, but there are incredible rewards, and I think that beautiful excerpt just illuminates some of the wonder and the rewards that teaching gives at whatever level we might be doing it. And for you, it's secondary. But I just hope that was interesting and engaging once again, and that you got something out of it. Please feedback, any insights or questions you might have, and hopefully we can discuss some of it in the Collaborate this evening.